So I'm going to begin. My first question was just how much you guys knew of Hilma's work before getting involved in this, and what it is about her wonderful art that impresses you most.
So I did know about Hilma. A friend had introduced me to her work like maybe 10 years ago, and I had seen the exhibition in New York. And I guess I'm most drawn to the way she works with everything. You know, she pays attention to spirit, to the unconscious, to nature, to, you know, she let it all come through her, and science, and yeah, she just was an open vessel along with the other women she worked with. Yeah, and I just think it's extraordinary and unique. Yeah.
I was familiar with some of her work visually, but I wasn't aware of her as a person and her story at all. And I'd studied art history at university, so she had not been present in that, as we know. And I absolutely love her work. I find it so incredibly powerful. Yesterday was the first time in Stockholm and getting to see the really big paintings. But I remember on set, the big paintings copies, like they just blew me away to kind of be in front of. And then when you actually dig into her story, this film does, the fact that she was doing this work before anyone else, the fact that she was collaborating with a group of women in using kind of mystical and seance-y and an interest in science devices to find the work. I mean, the story is just so fascinating that it kind of just adds layers and layers, I think, of depth to appreciating her work.
Yeah, I knew some of her works too, like from postcards that I'd seen years ago, and I had read a little bit about her story. And I mean, the paintings, those paintings are so unique that, and they speak to you on a sensual level. Yeah, there's something there that speaks to you, and that is unique, and that I haven't seen in any other artist. So I was happy to learn more about her when I read the script.
Because Maeve, I mean, you touched upon it before, but sort of Hilma sort of connects into a sort of spiritual source to help convey her sort of artistic expression. As creatives, all three of you yourselves, can you relate to that? Not exactly on those exact same terms, but sometimes needing something more than what we might have around us to connect to something and bring something out of yourself.
I mean, I think, of course, I mean, maybe not just as creators, but I think it's very interesting in creative work to have that as well. But yeah, as human beings, there's so much that we don't know and kind of feel into and explore and create with.
And that concept comes up again and again of channeling, right? With great art, that it's channeled, that it kind of like comes with some sort of outside influence. Yeah. And actually, more specifically for making this film, we did, a group of the women in the five did a seance with a psychic in Stockholm, and I used so much of that information, and I'm sure the other women did too, to colour my understanding of my character and of their relationships and their dynamics. So we were using their tools as a way of, and Lasse as well worked with the same psychic for his own kind of approach for understanding Hilma and directing. So we were actually using their tools to kind of, in a meta way, honor the creative process that they used in the making of this.
But I think like inspiration and creativity, it's like it's something that, I mean, of course, the subconscious always, I think, inevitably plays a part there.
It'd be very boring if it was just
you
and your ego.
But not only for artists, I mean, for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Lily, you mentioned about the five. I just wondered about how important the kind of feminist pioneers like the Hilmas and Sigrids and Matildas of the world are in creating the kind of world we live in today. I mean, while obviously still not perfect, is still striving for equality.
Yeah, I mean, the spiritualism and theosophy of that time, where women did have a place to bring themselves forward, you know, I think is huge, and it is like I mean, we know it now. We know how much women have held up so much in history, and yeah, I mean, I guess this is just this is an honoring of how true that is, you know. That
yeah, and I would
that
say that
it's
it was such this period of history, kind of early 20th century, was such a pivotal time, I think, in many aspects of society, but particularly around women's rights. And you know, the symbolically, the right for women to vote didn't just come out of nowhere. It came out of decades, you know, you could say centuries, but particularly decades of women around the world rising up and trying to get more political, economic, social, artistic license and power. And so the women in this collective, the five, I think are very symbolic of all the other women that we may never have heard the names of, or we may never hear the names of, who around the world were feeling the sense that things were changing, new ideas were being traded, kind of new religious ideas, new spiritual ideas, new scientific discoveries. And with that was, I think, a restlessness that women shouldn't be kind of secondary citizens. And that continues still today.
I mean, of course, all of these characters are based on real people. Was there much out there for you guys to do research? And is there a kind of different pressure that comes with playing real people to not just do, because suddenly you're not just doing the story justice, but I guess you're doing the memory of the real people, that you're kind of embodying justice as well?
Well, I mean, as for my part, Rudolf Steiner, I mean, he still has a huge following, at least in Europe, I think. I mean, with all the Waldorf schools and places, and so of course, I mean, when you play a real life character, you want to do it justice somehow. I mean, you don't want to come up with just a cliche, which is hard because we don't know how he really was. But I mean, I read a biography and I tried to piece some things together. And what I found interesting about this story is that it kind of removes him from this what is it, pedestal, but
Yeah.
that he was on, or that he is on for many people. He was certainly influential, but he also had a very big ego and was a very vain man, I think.
He's the villain. I mean, he's the villain.
Yeah, the villain, yes.
I think it
Ignored
humanizes it, which I find really
Yeah.
fascinating, because he is, I think, still culturally on this kind of pedestal for many people. And yet we know, if we dig into his story and some of the things he wrote, that he was by no means a perfect. It was like,
He contradicts himself all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
he says one thing and does another. That's obviously interesting for an actor to work with that. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely not the hero.
But in terms of the five, there was, I mean, there's obviously all of Hilma's notebooks, but I think most of them are really about the work. I mean, they're kind of reporting the work. They're not discussing dynamics in the group or anything. They're not a diary. And so there were there's like very few images. There's the magazine, I guess, that Matilda wrote, or edited. So it was much more, it was different. But as Lily was saying, the seance really gave us a lot of information that we use. Like, we treated that as,
I think I would have found it very difficult without that, in a way, because there's so little information. You are trying to honor these people who are real people alive. It's quite hard to know how to approach the character, and yet using the seance and it felt very respectful to their own beliefs, to use that kind of at face value and to trust the information that came through. And then that gave us loads of material and emotional material to work with. And then it's fiction, right? And you have to know that you're never going to be representing the real person. The audiences are aware of that too.
But as we can tell, just from sort of the facts, all three of you today are sort of different nationalities, different sort of accents. This feels quite representative of a film that felt very international as a viewer. Sometimes when you watch like an English movie, you can tell it's an English movie. If you watch a French movie, you can tell it's a French movie. And this, though, it had that kind of Scandinavian sort of feeling to it. It felt like a film that was of the world in a good way. I mean, did it feel a bit like that on set? Did it feel like you were was it quite hard to define where you were, if that makes any sense at all?
like music to the producer's ear. Because I think that the reason they've made this as I understand it, an English language film as opposed to a Swedish language film, is because they want to bring her story and this story to a wider international audience. So I definitely think that was part of the intention.
But then it is a Swedish film at the same time, it is a Swedish production, and
but it's not not being in a Swedish language.
No, exactly.
Is a considered choice, I think, because obviously in real life they were speaking Swedish. Yeah.
Except for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a real family affair with Lasse and Lena and Tora. Did that bring a sort of sense of comfortability on set? Because I think trust is such a big part of the filmmaking experience. And I imagine with a kind of family leading the way, that becomes a sort of given.
Yeah, and maybe that's why it was quite a joyful experience. It really felt like a joyful family affair.
And they were so lovely to be there.
Yeah.
The three of them was so it was such a heart-centered kind of project, and just to be brought in on it, just to be like, there was no
No one yelling on set.
No one yelling.
No one stressed out.
Yeah.
It's not what
No, maybe Lasse is normally a tyrannical dictator, but in this film, with his family around, he was just like divine.
But I think that sometimes the tone that the sort of filmmaker sets is so sort of important. It's a bit of a shameless segue, but Tom, because I was lucky enough to be on set for Stranger Things in Lithuania, and I know this is all very kind of Hilma focused today, but I just wanted to ask you, because you've been obviously two of the most successful TV shows of all time. It'd be a miss for me not to mention Stranger Things or Game of Thrones, but I just wondered, but being in kind of Stranger Things, just in those Russian set sort of scenes, how was it watching the show back and as an audience member when it dropped on Netflix? Because I guess there'd be so much of it you wouldn't have seen. Were you able to kind of enjoy it and watch it like I did, for example?
Well, partly. I mean, I can never quite enjoy myself on screen because to a degree I'm a perfectionist, and then the first thing you always try and watch is did the things that I set out to do, they work. I mean, so and then. Yeah, but I guess I can enjoy it. Yeah, I was happy to be part of that huge show, and I've been a fan from season one. So yeah, I like that.
Are you all quite good at keeping up with what's on the telly and in the cinemas and stuff? I know you're so busy and you end up kind of traveling with work and stuff, but you quite good at sort of ensuring your kind of fingers on the pulse of what TV everyone's watching or what films people are talking about.
Films for sure. I try an effort to stay on top of films. TV less so.
Yeah, I find it harder. I feel like I start a lot and then don't finish. But yeah, film. I mean, I have particular filmmakers like if they have a new film, I'm absolutely there to see. Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever I like a series, it gets cancelled. So
But as actors, when you are fans, this is my final question really, but when you are fans of shows and then you get to kind of like, you might have watched it for years upon years, and then you go and work on a project and then you're with someone who was on that show, do you ever get a bit fanboyish, or is it always do you have to maintain a kind of professional sort of demeanor on set and stuff? Is there a kind of in the industry, is it okay sometimes to go up to a fellow actor and just go, God, I loved you in this, or I loved you in that?
I think it's okay to do that.
Yeah, I think it's nice to do that.
Yeah. And I don't see it as fanboyish. It's just like kind of respectful.
Yeah.
If you admire an actor,
you see what they're doing. Yeah. Tom, big fan. You can tell.
Absolutely, but I mean, I've always found that I've worked with some people, and I've always found that the biggest actors, or what you consider the biggest actors, are the most normal people and
humble,
and sweet. Yeah.
Brilliant. Cool. Well, thank you so much for speaking to me today, guys. I appreciate you doing this on Zoom. It's been really helpful because I'm sorry I couldn't make it to King's Cross, but yeah, I really enjoyed the movie. Best of luck with the release, and yeah, maybe we'll all catch up again one day. Who knows? Cheers. Bye, everyone. Take care.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey